In this video, let's look at concepts such as catalepsy and levitation. What they're for, how to use them, how to properly aim them. So, catalepsy. Catalepsy is the simplest thing you can see this demonstration on. Is when we have our hand raised. Just a hand, and it's catalepsy. That is, it can stay in this position for a very long time, up to several hours. That is, it is a hypnotic technique used by hypnologist psychotherapists to put a person either quickly into a trance, or catalepsy facilitates deeper immersion. For example, we inject it, that's it, the person is in a trance. He can't hold his hand that long without a trance. He can only hold his hand in catalepsy indefinitely in a trance. Thus, we can use the hand in the trance process, when we will lower to raise it, already going into levitation. Or we can use it to deepen the trance. Or we can use the same hand to communicate with the unconscious when we have micro-movements during trance. What is levitation? Levitation is actually the raising of the arm. Catalepsy is when the hypnotherapist takes your hand and raises it. That's it, she's cataleptic. It's when a gypsy comes up on the street, takes your hand to read your fortune. She took it, set it down. That's it, your arm's cataleptic. Even if she removes hers, yours will remain hanging. Because at this moment you are in a trance, and you are very well, easily suggestible. That's called catalepsy. Levitation is when your arm will rise, yes, and rise on command. That is, we have to explain to a person, now we will consider these ways with you, and give the task that your hand with a light, invisible movement goes upwards. And when it rises to a sufficient level, you will find yourself in a very comfortable place, in a comfortable room where you have been once before. You gave the assignment that when the hand goes up, the person will be there. If he ended up there, his hand stopped. So we communicate with the unconscious through the hand. Or let's say, when you have done this work and you need to go out, then you give a task to the unconscious. As it meets its challenges, we'll be ready to return to the here and now. Your arm will slowly descend at a comfortable pace. Good. That's it, and our arm is moving. When you are ready to be here now, your hand will fully touch your thigh, and you will open your eyes. So, how do we do catalepsy? The main ways. But the most obvious thing is that at the beginning of any trance we use guidance. Let's have catalepsy. The first is guidance. Guidance equals relaxation. If it is the person's first time and they are resistant, it will be more difficult here. Usually, if a person is ready to work with you, to cooperate with you, then catalepsy and levitation will be easy to perform, he will not resist, and he will succeed. If the person resists, I recommend that you first use other methods of induction into trance hypnosis to get them to trust you. And in the future just suggest you try a new way. Then he will already be relaxed, he will already trust you, and catalepsy and levitation will be successful. If you decide to experiment with it on your first session, chances are you won't succeed. The person will resist and laugh, and make these movements not unconsciously, but here on purpose. So, we use induction of relaxation, and then when we have already prepared the person for trance, take their hand and put them in a comfortable pose for us. Yes. Take my hand. Took the hand, there lay. We take her gently by the wrist with our fingers, lift her up, hold her for a while, and then we start. You see, just a little bit, just a little bit. Not immediately we take it away, but we hold our hand and then slowly begin to relax our own. And still continuing to touch her, in this manner, we slowly remove our own, and the hand remains hanging. And then we work with the unconscious. So, for example, we can tell any stories, any metaphors, anything. At this point, our hand is dangling. And when we need it, we can use it. For example, you told a metaphor about a time machine that transported a man to his future, where this task has already been accomplished, which he came from, and he wants to look at it. And next, if your problem is solved, and you have found a way, remembered it as you solved it, let your hand, as you remember, slowly descend. At a pace she's comfortable with. Okay. And that's it. And you have a man in a trance working out his own problems. You can even at this point, while it's sinking in, just support him. Good. Oh, that's great. And he's got it moving, moving, moving. Slight twitching of the arm, like that, you know, that happens, that's normal. And that's the way it should be. If you feel, well, you see that the hand does not go down, well, you say, the hand goes down, and it does not go down, it means that a person has something going on there. You need to find out what's going on with the person right away. You ask him to revitalize his mouth muscles and tell you where he is now, what's going on, and why his hand won't go down. And, as a rule, in 95% of cases, the person himself will tell what happened, why. Maybe he's got his hand stuck in a tree somewhere out there in a trance. Or he's holding something important. Or he hasn't found a solution. You have received feedback and then you will conduct the trance depending on what you have heard. Your job is still to get his hand down. If it doesn't go down, it means something emergency is going on. This is that unique and amazing one case. It will need to be addressed. Take the arm, lock it in place. We work from here. We're working. And it's very handy to use this hand on taking out the estrancer. As the task progresses, your hand will be lowered, and you can get to the here and now at a comfortable pace. And that's how we use it for excretion. An easy withdrawal would be estranged with confirmation that the person had solved his problem. The second way is levitation. Levitation. What it is, what it's for, and how we use it. I've already shown you that levitation is our arm raises. And now let's break down how we raise it in trance. So initially you have your patient's hands either in your lap or relaxed down somewhere. And in order to use levitation, we're going to use some techniques. There he lies. The first thing we did was trance induction again. It's relaxing, pointing, counting. Everything we use to induce trance. Next, we'll deal with levitation itself. The levitation itself. How do you do it? There are several ways to do it, usually by metaphor or by direct instruction. So, for example, I will count from 1 to 10, and your hand will slowly rise at the same time. Well, that's a bit of a stretch, isn't it? But it will be a signal for someone and they can work out. If you see that he doesn't respond to a simple instruction like that, then we'll do things differently. Your hand becomes light and weightless. Some invisible force is pulling her upward, as if the balloons were bouncy balls tied to your pinky finger, to your ring finger. Your index finger, and they pull it up slowly, comfortably. Your hand rises to a comfortable position in which it can remain, and listen to my story. So we saw the hand basically raised. She can take it to any level. It might just come off. That's her max. Some may have it go high at all. It doesn't matter. The important thing is that the instruction is fulfilled. She has risen to any level. And that's the point at which you start. You're starting metaphors. Metaphors for working with the goal, task, or problem the person has come to. You are working with it in metaphor, and the hand can serve you as a way to interact with the unconscious. That is, if you have found the solution you want, let me know with the motion of any finger on your raised hand. And the person gives us some kind of feedback. If we don't see it, we ask again after a while. Yeah, that's good. I would really like to know if you were able to find the solution. If yes, let me know in any way that is convenient for you. Perhaps his hand has some important role to play now, and he doesn't want to use it. But in any convenient way he can nod his head, for example, or move his other hand. It doesn't play a role of any significance either. Maybe it's the hand. If you don't understand what's happening, he's not responding, he's in a trance, his hand is up, but there's no feedback, then you can ask him to open his mouth and tell you what's happening, where you are now, and why your unconscious is not giving feedback. He can answer anything, and then you have to improvise and already solve the problem. Or he could say he hasn't found a solution. Then it's no big deal. You and I will return to the here and now, and a little later. Let's get back to solving your problem. So we can take him out. It's no big deal. So it's not going to be solved in one session. So more sessions are needed. Or let's say he says, and I let you know. Didn't you see that? I gave you a sign. And you really didn't see it, you missed it. And you sit there, waiting for him, not understanding anything. So sometimes feedback from the individual is very important. And you can just ask him to tell you what's going on with him, and why he's not giving feedback. And levitation accordingly. Usually balloons are used, which we tie with invisible strings. We usually use a cloud that can float up under your hand and slowly nudge it up. We use some, here it's as light as a butterfly, like a butterfly wing. It rises up to do a wing flap. And we're like this in all sorts of different ways, metaphorical, any way you can think of that can take off and gain weightlessness. Or like water that evaporates from a lake rises up, again, anything you use that can rise up. And when we want the hand to go down, just like in catalepsy, we can give direct instruction that as I count from 10 to 1, your hand will go down, and when I count to 1, you will find yourself here and now in a great mood and with a good attitude.